first question. And it has to do with your background, sir. We know you come from a family of high achievers, with dad being a general and a traditional ruler, and mom being or was a professor. We want to understand, sir, did this put a lot of pressure on you to excel, and what were the values they instilled that shaped you into being who you are today?
Well, I won't say they put any pressure to excel. It was just that one was fortunate to grow up knowing what the art of the possible was. And so it wasn't much of a pressure to excel, but you saw what others had accomplished. And as you know, our culture, the expectation is that you do better than your parents. True. So it wasn't so much of pressure, but it's like, if we could do this with the background we had, from where you're starting, you should be able to do better. And so that was the expectation. And it wasn't really pressure, it was just trying to honor them and make them proud of whatever we can accomplish by building on what they had built. As the saying says, we can see farther because we stand on the shoulders of giants who have gone before.
Thank you very much, sir. We'll go quickly to the next question. Your family, the background again, it's one that's so reputable, so we'll have some questions on that. Your family presents an interesting blend of modern and traditional. How were these two contrasting influences balanced in your family, and in what way did they influence what the Olutoye children all grew up to become? Because we also are aware that your siblings are, also excellent performance like yourself.
Well, the only thing that's constant is change. But even as we change, the intent is not to lose our identity of who we are. So still being aware of where we're from, what our core values are, what our culture is, continues to be important as we continue to embrace opportunities and avenues that change offers with growth and development. We can't stay resolute in the past and archaic in our thinking, but we should also not forgo our culture and our identity as we embrace new cultures and opportunities that become available.
Thank you, sir. We'd like to, and our condolences, even though we're very proud of Mommy's accomplishments and all she achieved and her legacy. This next question is about her, and we understand that she is a woman of many first accomplishments, from earning her first degree while she was being married to having her PhD after the 5th child. In what way did her experience serve as a template for your own numerous achievements and efforts?
Well, her first degree was actually after her 5th child, which was me.
Ooh.
So she had actually had 5 children before she went to get her first degree.
Well, and
she continued all the way through and attained a PhD. And I think for us, what that modeled was that you can, there's always a tendency, especially, she was always a huge proponent of the girl child and educating the girl child and making sure that they have opportunities, and she lived that, and for us it gave a clear example of the fact that yes, you can have a home, yes, you can have a family, and yes, you can still thrive in the workplace, and you can balance both with a supportive family, that you can still accomplish all of the above. Obviously, she had always given credit to my dad for being there to support her through the process of still being able to go back to school and all the way up to a PhD with all the children. So clearly she couldn't have done it by herself. It required, collaboration and support with a willing partner. And so I think it helps. It's been an important consideration as we all grow up and, look for spouses, and with that in mind, knowing fully well that what we saw in their relationship, they were married for over 65 years, and that relationship and that love and loyalty and interaction and support was something that we embraced and was a true homegrown example of Christian living and support for really a family that can be based. So, the whole concept of work-life integration, we saw it and lived it.
Thank you, sir. Quickly, I would like to ask what the most significant factor in your childhood is. What's the most significant factor that shaped the man you have become today?
The most significant factor? Well, faith. I mean, if there's one thing to pick, it's faith. That's the bedrock of everything. I think is realizing I'm a Christian, unashamed, born again, spirit-filled, and knowing that that's the basis upon which everything lies, and I'm here and privileged to serve, to the glory of God, and so once that becomes the bedrock, everything else layers on top of it. And working with that and starting with that, I think, is what has shaped a lot of things. And of course, upon that comes the diligence, dedication, integrity, and being able to do what needs to be done, realizing that it's, it doesn't mean it's going to be easy, but as long as you're working for His glory, God will make a way.
Thank you, sir, for sharing that and for also putting forward your faith. I'm sure you'll be happy to hear that the Rehoboth Foundation is also managed by a board of trustees, people of faith. Pardon me, sir, I need to ask, Admiral Komalafe, are you on the call? I'm not so sure. I think you didn't get back in.
Yes, I'm in.
Yeah.
Oh, you're in. Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Quickly, we go to the next question. Now, why the choice of pediatrics? We're grateful for it. Every parent will be very grateful for that. But why not another area of specialization? Why your love for pediatrics?
Well, so as a pediatric surgeon, I get to do both. I get to do surgery and get to operate on children. But my way back, actually, I thought maybe I was going to be an engineer, because as to my mother's chagrin and frustration, many times I would take apart every machine I could find, every radio transistor, and try to put it back or make my own tools with it. And half the time, I ended up breaking them more than fixing them. So I always had like the whole idea of taking things apart and trying to be creative. But in a way, I still say that I am still kind of an engineer. I just work on the ultimate machinery ever built, which is the human body. Because as a surgeon, that's what we do too, is we take things apart and put them back together. But my interest in pediatric surgery really was more from medical school, with the knowledge of embryology and really understanding how babies are made and how you go from, a sperm and an egg into a cluster of cells and develops into this intricate, creature, the human being that's formed in such an intricate way, and realizing all the things that could go wrong and how it's just amazing that we all turn out right, as we do. And for those that have some anomalies, understanding how those anomalies are formed. And so as a pediatric surgeon, my interest was to be able to understand those anomalies and see how we can help fix them.
Thank you very much, sir. I think the last question from me before Toby will ask you some questions. You became a doctor at the age of 22, and that age was pretty young in Nigeria at that time, when the average age was 27 for people to graduate. And you not only graduated at that age, but you were the valedictorian of your set. Can you share with us the unique strategy or insights? Because I do have young readers of this magazine. We have all ages, but can you share with us, what was your strategy and to achieve that pattern of excellence?
Well, I don't know that I can claim any strategy. At that age, what do you know? I mean, it's you just kind of put one foot in front of the other. I think I was, as we said earlier on, I was privileged at an early age to understand the value of education. Both my parents were educators. Before my father went into the military, he was actually a high school acting principal before starting a new career as a principal. So education was always foremost and forefront in our upbringing. And in fact, the one thing my father had always, our parents had always told us from the very onset is, the one legacy that, or inheritance you can always bank on is a good education. And so that was always the one thing that they ensured that we all had. So starting from elementary school, I went to University of Lagos Staff School in Lagos. That's where I did my elementary school. Initially started off at Army Children's Hospital, Yaba, and then finished up at University of Lagos Staff School. And then after that, I went to King's College, Lagos for secondary school. And I remember back then too, this was back when secondary school was 5 years, or you did A-levels for an additional 2 years. And so I finished secondary school, before my 16th birthday, and I was fortunate then to, do the JAM exam back then, and was and matched at University of Ife, now Bafemi Awolowo University. It was a 6-year program. It used to be a 7-year program, but it was a 6-year medical training program then, where you went straight into medical school. In most places, outside the US, you do, or outside Nigeria, you do 4 years of undergrads and then 4 years of medical school training. So it was just a 6-year combined training. So I think all those factors kind of came together to allow me to get done by 22. But it was just, again, being focused on what needed to be done. It wasn't that I didn't have my own youthful indiscretions at times, but trying to stay focused on the goal and be passionate and putting in the work that needed to be done. So is it possible? Yes. Like I tell folks, if I could have done it, definitely anybody else could have. Could do it.
Thank you, sir. Tommy, you want to ask a few questions before we run out of time? How many more minutes do we have with you, sir?
We had some lost time, so let's go on to the quarter of the hour. So we'll give you a little additional time.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Okay, so I'll just jump right in. My first question will be, with all the groundbreaking work that you've done and you've excelled in, which of these accomplishments, do you cherish the most?
Well, I don't know that I cherish any
Okay.
per se, because again, like I said, my goal and my purpose is just to work for His glory. As long as God gets the glory, then that's really the key. It's not about me. It's not about what I do. I'm happy to be able to help families that need help and to be able to work with them. And, whenever anybody says anything, I have the same response: to God be all the glory.
That's amazing. What motivates you? What drives you to explore, new ideas and push boundaries?
Well, again, I guess it goes back to my earlier description of all those machines that I took apart and damaged in our home. I think the strive for innovation and discovery has always been there to figure out new ways and new ideas to do things. Now, some of the things that have been talked about, I didn't necessarily create them. A lot of people have done the work to do them. I may have been the first Nigerian to have done them or the first African to have done them, but some of this work had actually been in process, been explored and experimented on, since the 1960s. But I'm happy to have, been able to be part of those that can help provide those services to families that need them.
Amazing. Okay, so in my sister's words, when I told her I was doing this interview with Mrs. Komolafe, she was like, he's a genius, because she's also a cardiologist in the US as well. So she was like, oh, I should make sure I pass that message across, that you're a genius and she admires you a lot. So yes. I was also going to ask you, because I remember, growing up, most of us read Ben Carson's book, right? Gifted Hands. And from there, I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. But of course, medicine was not in the books for me, clearly. So is there a book somewhere in the future that we're going to read about? And, so some generations to come will look at and be like, oh, I want to be a pediatric surgeon or something, because you are Ben Carson, pretty much. You are,
I don't know. I mean, again, like I said, this is not about me.
Yeah, I know.
It's about God. It's about God. So I think if there's any book to be reading, to be written, it's just that God is able. I mean, that's really all it is.
Okay. Do you have any advice for young people aspiring to follow your path in pediatric surgery?
I think any advice for young people in general following any path is just to know that, again, like I said, God is able. So first is to have that relationship with Him that sets you on the path, and then God is able. So if we fail, it's not because God has failed, it's because we haven't done our part. And so it's what are we doing to align ourselves, to prepare ourselves to do the work that needs to be done, to be committed, to be diligent, and to align with God's will for our lives. So if we're doing what we're supposed to do and working according to His precepts, He will get us to where He has proposed for us to go. If we, stand in line and stand in faith and do what's right and honor Him as we should, then, like I said, siesta a man diligent in his work, he will stand before kings and not before men. I mean, that's really it. Work your hard and God will glorify it.
Amen. Thank you, sir. I'm sure I already know the answer to this question as well too, but how do you handle fear, or doubts, especially in the face of, difficult medical cases you've never dealt with before?
So before any case, I pray.
Okay.
Before every case, because I start my day in prayer and supplication, and that's, again, like I said, that's the foundation upon which everything I do is. But the most important thing is I see this as I'm working. Have I had cases that didn't go as well as I would have liked? Yes. But if I go into it and ask for God's guidance and direction to make it work, if it works well, to Him be all the glory. If it doesn't work as I pleased, that wasn't what God had in store. As long as I make sure that I did not do anything that did not allow God to walk through me, then the outcome is what God has proposed. So once you take yourself out of the equation, and I just see myself as walking through God. Many times when I'm done with an operation, and the parents thank me, I said, no, don't thank me. Thank God. He's the one I work for. So it takes me out of the equation. I'm just there to serve and to honor Him. And so the doubt, yes, is there considerations, but again, I walk through, I ask Him to walk through me. So the doubt is not for me to have, but for Him to use me as His vessel.
Amazing. Thank you, sir. I think this will be my last one. In what ways do you actively mentor other people or other doctors or young people?
Freely have you been given, freely have you received, freely you should give. And so that's my philosophy. I think talking and mentoring I stand on the shoulders of those that have gone before and have opened doors to get me here. And I'm happy to help and assist if I can. Obviously, there are limitations to what we all can do, but if only by interviews like this and things, some other person can be encouraged and energized to seek to greater heights. And I always tell folks the sky is not the limit. There are people in space. Clearly, the sky is not the limit. And so we just should not be limited by our own views and our abilities and just continue to seek greater heights. But mentorship is something we're all called to do. And my charge is obviously to pay it forward, and also for those that have been so mentored to continue to pay it forward as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much, sir. It's an honor.
Yeah, big honor. Thank you so much, Tomi. I know I can always rely on you. I have a quick question, sir, and I'm so sorry. There's a construction going on above me, so.
I can't even hear it, so.
Okay, great. So I would like to ask you how the fame that came with your work affected your personal life. Did it affect your personal life? Because the story of the pioneering the surgery that was done on the little baby in the mother's womb was all over the world, CNN and Times International. So did it affect you personally? I know you're a man of faith, but did it affect you in any way? The fame that came with it, all the attention, because some people, like to be private. How did that affect you, and how did you handle it?
Well, I know there are many times people run into me, it's like, oh, I think I know you from somewhere. It's like, oh, maybe. And that's just about it. And I don't obviously help them out because but besides that, many times I go quietly and just try to stay quiet. Of course, all it takes is one or two people to recognize you, and then, the word gets out, and then you're bombarded by everybody that wants to say hello. But again, if it's a way to just give God glory, then that's a purpose. I see it as a platform to just elevate God.
Thank you, sir. One of the reasons that I got my young mentees, the volunteers and the staff, because they're all doing this also, as volunteers and also to improve themselves, was so they can learn from your experience. And I have found myself learning. I'm sure when I talk to Tomi after this conversation, she will say we've learned something. And it's so inspiring, sir, the way you put your faith and the trust you have in God in front of every response. And they're your words. So we're very happy to publish this. And we know that it's also a way for our readers also to get to know God. And I'm excited about that. I'm sure that Admira is also excited about that. We're running out of time. Quickly, we would like you to share with us your, you already alluded to it, about, mom getting support from dad, and also being able to push her career with that. But, the generation now, the social media, fizzy and everything, what would be your advice to couples that are starting their marital journey? Maybe 2-3 things that, will help them.
So one of the things my wife and I do or try to do too is we actually help counsel, do premarital counseling for those coming along. We've been blessed to be married for about 30 plus years now. So again, we still have a long way to go with the 65-year record that our parents have. But it's just, again, put God first. I mean, if two people are going to come into a relationship, having grown up in different ways, and you can't make one person like the other. But as you both grow to be like Christ, then you're going to be like each other. And as long as the template upon which you have to have a basis for truth, and there has to be a tiebreaker in any discussion or conversation. And as long as the Word of God and Jesus is your tiebreaker, then a lot of the challenges are easier once you're operating off the same book. But is it going to be tough? Yes. Is there going to be work? Yes. Is there going to be diligence? Yes. But as long as you're, fellows on the same ship, walking in the right way. And when it comes to selecting a partner, one of the things I always tell folks is, assume you're going on this spaceship to Venus or Mars, or pick whatever planet you like. And you have to pick a partner to go on that spacecraft with, just the two of you. You may have an idea of what the things you're going to meet on the way, but chances are there will be so many things along the way you don't even have any idea of yet. Who is that person that you're willing to go on that path with, on that journey with? Remember, once you launch, there's no turning back. There's no way out. You can't eject. You can't change your mind. You can't. So diligently seek and find who is that person that you want to go on that journey with, because marriage is a life's journey. And it's selecting the right person you want to embark upon that journey with. So with the challenges and the support, it's not something you can do by yourself. You have to be able to lean on each other. So it's not only someone that you serve, but also someone that gets to serve you, and you serve each other on that journey of life. And so picking someone that you're willing to go on that spacecraft with, as you both journey to, other worlds and beyond. And then if you know who that person is and you find that person, then you found the right partner.
Thank you very much, sir. And I know that I will be speaking for everyone around the call if I say, please extend our gratitude and our appreciation to her. We do know she has a busy schedule too, because I tried to read up on her as well. So help us thank her for the good work she's doing and for being your partner on this journey. I have 2 more questions, and I hope you still have the time for that. We have a question here that says, your schedule is very busy. We wonder if you ever rest. I know you cancel. You just told us you cancel couples, premarital counseling, when you're not doing medicine. What else do you do? How do you relax?
I love to travel. I mean, I like to visit different places, visit new areas, and that's something my wife and I like to do. We go on mission trips to different places, but also we just travel to relax and have fun and just learn about other cultures and other worlds, because then you realize just how a minute portion of it you are, and you have an appreciation for other people's points of view. And besides that, we relax and with family and watch movies and just generally find time to relax in between.
Thank you very much, sir. The last question, looking back at your life and times and looking into the future, is there something you still want to achieve? And how would you want to be remembered beyond, all that we have, analyzed today?
Well, there's none of the things here that I put down at the beginning of my life that this was something I wanted to achieve. My purpose had always just been God use me. And I hope he still finds me still usable for whatever he still has in store to use. And whatever that is to show me so I can continue to follow the path. And how do I want to be remembered? He loved God, he feared God, he came, he served, he finished his race.
Amen. Amen. Thank you so much, sir. Now, there's not enough time, but now I understand why Admiral Komolafe was very tenacious and very resilient. He just had to get us this interview. You know, he had tried, and he was so excited when we finally got the appointment. Now I understand. It's different reading, you know, all over social media with the baby and all that, claiming that a Nigerian did it. There's a different feeling now, you know, talking to you and hearing your experience and, you know, the responses to our questions. Thank you so much, sir. We know your schedule is tight. I will just leave Admiral now to say something.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mrs. K, Tomi, and others. Prof, we're grateful to have you, and sincerely, we're saying thank you for creating time from your very busy schedule to attend to us. When I listen to this again, I would love to listen to it again. When I listen to it, I will have my full comment on them. But it's enough to just say thank you. From the way you received me the first time we met, when you were in Nigeria to bury mom, and even from the way you have received me since I started pestering you, quote and unquote, to let us have this, and even today, we are so much grateful. We have somebody, youth in the USA, Mrs. K in Canada, some of us in Nigeria, and Tomi in the UK, talking together. We're grateful to technology, just some of the things that technology is able to do. So we're so grateful to you, and we look forward to working with you even much more in the future. Appreciation from us. Thank you, Prof.
Again, thank you for the opportunity to be able to meet with all of you. My apologies again for the delay. I know I had said I was going to connect you with Jessica, and it took me a while to do that, but I'm glad we could finally connect.
Yeah,
thank you
so
very much, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
To God be the glory.
Yes, we learned that today. Tomi and I have learned that today.
By the way, Prof, I like the way you smile all the time. I hope that's the way you smile all the time.
If you always feel the joy, there's no reason not to smile.
Exactly. Joy overflowing in my heart.
Thank you so much, bro.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.